This is part 6 of an 8-part series where I basically explain what I did over the last 5 months of traveling. I've tried to be quite concrete with it also. It's all about 5 minutes long. I haven't captured everything. But I just give you a taste. Nothing has been pre-written. There's no pre-notes, nothing like that. It's just all very authentic and what comes to mind. So in total, £933 and 48 pence was raised. And thank you everyone for donating. Part 1 was about Kenya. Part 2 was about Zambia. Part 3, Ghana. Part 4, Laos. Part 5, Cambodia. And part 6 will be about Vietnam. So in each location that I traveled to, I had the volunteer organization pick me up from the airport, take me to the place where all the volunteers were staying, and either from there I'd be moved to another location, say for stay home, or I'd basically stay in that one location. Vietnam was the only location where I didn't have that arrangement. I've got a Vietnamese sister, and we met about 5, 6 years ago when she came to live with me for a year when she was doing her masters. And the amazing thing about friendship is that when it's genuine, the fact that you may not see each other for 5 years has no impact. Like from the moment from the moment I got at the airport and I saw her, like I have love for her before I even got there, but just seeing her, it just felt like I'd missed her so much. Like we lived together for a full year, um, and it was just like people looked at us just like these two are just like. I think people may have thought we were maybe lesbians or something because we were just so close and say like cuddly, just like oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in ages, and we were like that for the whole week we spent together. So anyway, I stayed with Tao for 1 week. She basically took me around, took me to her family's place. I had really authentic Vietnamese food, which sadly I didn't really like. I'm not much of a pickle person, and the foods are very sharp in flavor. And if you're not much of a preserved pickle person, then you may not necessarily like it. I like the noodles and the soups and stuff like that, but the really traditional food that we had for Vietnamese New Year wasn't to my liking. But it was great, and I tried it, and that's the thing that matters. Um, and so yes, we spent a whole week together, travelled here and there, and just sort of sat down and caught and talked. And like Tao is just completely real. She tells it as it is, and that's why I love her. Um, so anyway, I spent 1 week with Tao, and then I started my volunteering program. On the volunteering project, I was working at a special needs centre, and I remember on maybe my first or second day there, I was standing in the room looking at the kids, and I just felt like crying. And even just saying it now, I'm like, I can't cry now because I'm on video. But it was really emotional because you see the disabilities that these children have, and you sort of realize that there's nothing you can really do to help them. It's not like the orphanage or teaching where the kids fully understand you. And it took me a very long time to just sort of understand that all I had to do to help was just be there, was just give them my time, give them my attention, give them a smile, and supporting, feeding them, and just understanding their needs. And it was great because I feel like in that 2 weeks where I was working there, and it probably wasn't 2 weeks because annoyingly the organization made you do some orientation for 1 week, and for me it was like I've been in Vietnam with my girlfriend for about a week. I know Vietnam. I'm comfortable. Don't dragging me around, but they did, and I learned a bit more, and I saw like the choo choo tunnels and places like that. So it was all great, to be fair, enjoyable. So I only had 1 week in the orphanage, but in that 1 week, I really felt a close connection to the kids. And by the end of that week, it was hard to say goodbye because I knew I couldn't really explain to them that I'm not going to see you again. And these kids had, they had cerebral palsy, they had autism, um, and and there were some that just they didn't talk to you, but they knew you were there, and they got to a point where they recognized you. And you had the little ones, like there was one little girl that threw tantrums all the time, and she'll just bang her head, and her head was like a funny shape because she bangs it all the time. Majority of the kids that were in the special needs centre is quite a newly established um, setting or facility within that hospital, and it's linked to the hospital. But a lot of the parents pay for it. The government pays 1/3, and then the parents pay the remainder. Um, and there was one kid who I never got to meet, and the reason why was because his mom was unable to pay for him to. His mom was unable to pay for him to attend, and she couldn't pay anymore. So what I then did was I basically decided to sponsor him because I sort of realized how much support these kids here were receiving, and it said that there's a kid who I've never seen who was receiving the same problems, and it was all official. Like we went into the administration office for the hospital, we got the receipt, we got the details for the kids, everything. What I basically said was I didn't want it to be a case of he only had support for a short period of time, so I didn't want to just sponsor for 1 month. But I realised that I didn't have enough money to stretch it out for too long. So in total, £96.59 was spent to support this kid for 3 months. So that was his school fees for 3 months. So bearing in mind, I've paid his, not school fees, his attendance fee for 3 months. The government gives 1/3, so his mum only has a small fraction left to pay, so therefore it's more affordable. So I never got to meet him, but I know that how he's going to be receiving that support. And it was great. They have personalities. They have such big personalities, and it's a shame that they're physically limited. Yeah.